I've had Dr. Anthony Chaffee on the podcast. He's a proponent of the carnivore diet. I saw you spoke with Paul Saladino, and then there's Dr. Sean Baker. All these people are proponents of carnivore or an animal-based diet. Something that always throws me off is why? Like if these people are looking at research too, why is there people who will look at research and say the research supports this, and then there are people like you who look at it and say it doesn't? Where is that disconnect?
I think the disconnect is because I think that um, they're promoting something radical that is well accepted by scientists around the world to be harmful, and they're having this unusual viewpoint which people embrace. It's like a way they can get famous and do something that people love to eat animal products, and people, the males, the macho thing, whatever it is they're doing. But that has to do with how you're able to look at research. In other words, are you looking at the full body? You can pull a couple of studies that support any viewpoint, but there are thousands of studies on every issue. So if you're looking at the studies that show that increasing quantity of animal products in the diet, including grass-fed and wild animal products, shorten lifespan, then you should have a research team that evaluates all the studies on that issue, all the published studies in the last 10 years or last 20 years, and go through, and this is what the Cochrane analysis does, right? They're a British located, but originally a Norwegian group that tries to take an issue and study all the data and remove the studies that are outliers, that are C grade and D grade, and only pick the A and B grade studies, and put all the A and B grade studies together and use a meta-analysis to see where the data points, to come to an unbiased review of whether, let's say, mammograms really make you live longer or not, or whether, whatever they're studying, whether statin drugs, how much statin drugs really benefit people's lifespan. So they're not funded by the drug company, and they investigate all the studies and they try to ascertain the credence of that particular study. And you have the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is the only board certification of nutrition, which has a nutritional bent in the United States, only medical specialty with a board certification. But almost all the nutritional scientists in the world and all doctors in this field recommend a diet that's plant-based and phytochemical diverse. You can name some of those people you've named, because there's only a handful in the world who have publicized themselves on the internet. You have 5 versus 500,000. You have 5 doctors versus 500,000 people who disagree with them. And these 5 people with this radical viewpoint get a microphone. But it's nonsense. It's nonsense. So if they have that opinion, then I'm saying that they're disguising, hiding, burying, and escaping from the overwhelming amount of data that shows otherwise. How every science in the world, so I can show you, and I can produce right now, I could send you 10 studies that are done by different researchers around the world, and each study has hundreds of thousands of people, and each study went on for 20 years, following how long people lived and their age of death and what they died of, showing that as animal products increased in the diet, their lifespan was shortened in direct accordance. How do they justify all these studies showing the same thing? Because they pull one study that was done incorrectly, and they could show that, that maybe it wasn't that animal products weren't so bad or something like that. They'll pull 1 or 2 studies, but they're not going to pull, in my book, for example, Eat for Life, one of my latest books, I have 2,000 references in that book. Now, how many studies do you think we had to review to pull 2,000 to use in the book? 10,000 to pull 2,000 out? How many studies do you think I had to pull 2,000 references? They're going to show you 1 or 2 references. I'm going to show you 2,000 good references that corroborate this, including hundreds of references on mushrooms reducing cancer, and hundreds of references on onions, and hundreds of references on green vegetables, and hundreds of references on berries and cherries, and hundreds of references on nuts, and hundreds of references on all these different variety of plant foods that individually show dramatic protection against cancer, like a 64% reduction of breast cancer in women who eat mushrooms every day, like an 80% reduction in cancer for eating green vegetables every day. We're talking here about a 71% reduction of breast cancer deaths for people eating flax seeds in the diet each day. We're talking here about that these things not only have dramatic benefits, but they're putting together a diet that synergistically contains all these foods that maximize these benefits. And they're not just ignoring the benefit. They're just not just ignoring the studies showing that higher animal products shorten lifespan. they're also ignoring thousands of studies showing these individual foods they're excluding causes enhancement in lifespan and reduction of cancer. It's so utterly ridiculous that it's almost criminal to have people with degrees like that trying to get rich off people's ignorance. And some of them themselves, like the guy debating, has left the carnivore diet because it made him feel so sick and started increasing more fruit in his diet or stuff like that. But the point is, it's not sustainable, it's not for good health, and it's complete insanity to say that we shouldn't eat vegetables.